The invitation arrived via our family group chat, and my mother's well-written message filled with worry and disappointment. Urgent family gathering. Alexander wants our assistance with her on Thursday at 7 p.m. They've been referring to my decision to resign as my problem. 2 years of subtle barbs before starting my own business and landing a renowned consultancy job. Concerned phone calls and overt clues about actual jobs with real advantages, I drove outside my parents' colonial-style home the same day, one in which Ivy League degrees were used to assess achievement and corporate titles. In the circular driveway next to it was my sister Emma's Range Rover. My Toyota Corolla appeared noticeably out of place next to my mother's BM Belly and Dad's Mercedes. My phone buzzed, showing me just how they perceived me these days. Another message from at 8 p.m. My Forbes piece about Marcus, my CFO, goes live. I texted you back at Eastern Standard Time. It was perfect time, family. Intervention begins at 7. He responded right away saying, "Savage, I want to send a car. No need to save you. There are some things worth waiting for." I looked at my reflection in the rearview mirror. Tonight, no expensive clothing, just a basic white shirt with a black blazer and minimal makeup, hair tied back properly. Let them. The door made the impending revelation sweeter because I didn't think I could afford better. Door before I could knock, and Mom was standing there with flawless makeup in her channel suit. "Alexander, you're running late by 2, and she's not quite covering her frown wrinkles. "Minutes, Mom. Details are important in business, sweetheart." She led me inside. Might want to think about how the living room was arranged to mimic a corporate interference in Dad's position of authority. Emma and her husband James sit on the leather sofa near the fireplace with Mom's sister. They even called in Aunt Patricia, who was seated in the wingback chair. Reinforcements, Allie Emma gave me a cheek kiss, and I adore the H&M thrift blazer. Store. In fact, I saw her attempt to conceal her shock. Sustainable fashion is quite popular right now. Let's get started. Dad cleared his throat. "We're concerned about you, Alexandra. Regarding my circumstances, I took the least comfortable chair, purposefully facing everyone, about your decisions," Mom rectified. "You had every junior partner track at 2 years ago. William, that beautiful penthouse residence is an investment, Mackenzie." Before I called it off to launch my business, the banker had essentially arranged my wedding. Now, Dad suggested driving that old automobile, living in that small flat, and doing some, what do you name a tech startup? James provided useful information, yet it's a startup. Suggests room for growth. He grinned broadly, and I looked at his MBA assurance. "There is no space for new players in your field because the market is saturated, without significant financial support." I suppressed a smirk as James attempted to obtain his James's own startup, was financed 3 times before he had to rely on his trust fund. Was unaware that he had been making a pitch to one of my subsidiary investment firms the previous James, who had been turned down once more, said, "We're just trying to help," Emma continued. "Mackenzie would definitely take you back, Aunt. There's no shame in admitting something isn't working. Barbara's daughter recently received a promotion to partner there," Patricia added. "That could have been you," I thought. The youngest female partner in their history halted thoughtfully. At 7:43 p.m., I checked my watch. The Forbes story would be published in 17 minutes. "Mom grumbled about everything, but you haven't even explained what your business does. Dad assumed that you had nothing to show for your long hours of seclusion. His CEO posture, which he had employed in numerous boardroom presentations. We're here to talk about your failed business and make plans for the future." Emma's phone rang, so she looked at it and decided to face reality. A double take. Her normally composed demeanor broke, "Oh my God." "Why is your face on Forbes 30 under 30, was murmured, then raised in volume. "James?" The room froze, and Mom's wine glass stopped just short of her lips. Snatched Emma's phone and anxiously looked through, it thinking it couldn't be Alexander. At this value, Bennett, 28, founder and CEO of Neurok Solutions, must be a error 2 billion, which I calmly provided. This is the current valuation following our. However, the figure is a little out of date from the prior funding cycle, so Dad sank back into, would you like to know what my company does now that I pulled his chair? It's worth 2 billion. Opening our investor presentation on my iPad, Neurok Solutions creates AI-powered adaptive learning platforms. We're transforming the way that machines think and react to complicated facts. In fact, the small flat I dwell in is the I got an old Toyota since it's the smallest unit in a building. Mom's wine glass should be sensible and dependable, just like any wise purchases. Shuddered, but you remained silent and didn't inquire. So I was too busy complaining that I hadn't noticed my success to get up and tidy my thrift shop blazer. Major tech companies are implementing our technology. Businesses all over the world. Which is why I've been putting in so many hours at work. Confidential, which is why Forbes will be posting a feature in roughly 2 minutes. Article detailing how a 28-year-old lady created a software company worth billions of dollars. Emma's family believed she was failing since her phone was constantly ringing with notifications, flooding in as the story went online, and James appeared to have swallowed. Aunt Patricia was already on the phone, most likely phoning Barbara regarding her daughter's dramatically diminished brilliance. 2 billion, Dad repeated, shell shock. Actually, as Marcus's message appeared on my phone, I checked it. That's 3 billion. I'll tell you more about our recent acquisition, but I have in an hour. A video interview with CNBC will be featured as part of their program on disruptive tech leaders. There was a deafening pause before Mom's little voice spoke, but I glanced around the room at their astonished expressions. But why didn't you tell us? Broken presumptions and their eroding confidence in my identity and what I could do, since occasionally I stated, the greatest approach to gather my items is to succeed, is to allow others to undervalue you. You're incredibly capable. Achieve, while no one is looking. My phone rang one more, and that's my car. This Toyota is really pricey and comes with the entire Forbes package. I went for the door after the photo shoot, but I turned around to see Emma and James, a startup, presented the idea that Bennett rejected last month. My investment firm is called Ventures. I hope to have better luck the next time I leave them there, encircled by their high-end labels and traditional achievements. Yet away from I was waiting for my next interview in a beautiful black automobile. Sometimes the finest retaliation isn't proving someone incorrect, but letting them know that I was just started, and they didn't really know you at all. The CNBC interview was just by midnight. My phone was overflowing with messages from former classmates. Reminiscent of our intimate bond, distant relatives declared that they always had faith in me, and most revealing a string of progressively frantic texts from my mother. Please give us a call, Alexandra. Emma? We need to chat. Why didn't you tell me Maybe we could talk about that pitch over lunch, Dad, with your sister James. I don't understand why you kept your achievement a secret from your own people. Family, I chose to ignore them all, in favor of Marcus's message. Following the Forbes article, stocks rose 12% as Tokyo markets opened strongly. Prepared for board meeting tomorrow. The following morning, I entered Neurotech's. My name is subtly displayed in the headquarters, AII, modern glass skyscraper in the center of downtown. The security guy respectfully nodded, saying, "Good morning, Miss Bennett." Inscribed on the cornerstone. Your family has been phoning, and Maya, my executive assistant, met me at the lift. Your mother attempted to charm her way past reception, but she has been at the workplace since 6 a.m. I grinned as security adhered to protocol. Of course they did. Any other unexpectedly? Your sister Emma tagged you in a LinkedIn post about her sister, a talented software entrepreneur. Wants to know how to deal with it. No answer is required. Let her pursue the link. I made my office invisible even if it took up the top floor. Privacy windows with no signage from the street. The inside was contemporary, but simple, clean lines, useful furniture, and whiteboard-covered walls crammed with intricate algorithms and code. The morning news quietly played on tech wonder Alexandra. Bennett upends the AI industry neuroc on several screens. Solutions Young, the cunning giant transforming machine learning. In secret, the CEO developed a billion-dollar company, but my new life was disrupted by a knock at my door. Scanning Miss Bennett, I turned anticipating my scheduled 900 a.m. venture. Capital meeting instead, William, my former fiancé, was present, investment banker. My departure from Alexandra was never forgiven by my parents. Tried his old endearing smile, saying, I look just as accomplished as I did when you termed my startup ideas cute. Well, I remained sat, and he moved. How? Did you get on my calendar? Uncomfortably, I assumed your mother had stated that you had offices here. Since I cut into our history, you should keep in mind that I don't thank you to those who don't think highly of me. You once stated, tech is a man's world, sweetheart. Continue working in consulting where they value diverse recruits. Maya, please escort Mr. Harrison out and update security after pressing the intercom. Procedures. When he was escorted out at 9 in the morning, Sarah Chin, the infamous, known for supporting unicorn firms, the venture capitalist had a fun morning. Just clearing out old stuff, she said, indicating towards William's receding form. Misunderstandings, I displayed our presentation. Should we talk about the future rather than the past? The meeting with Sarah did a fantastic job, but it was only a prelude to what was about to happen. At midday, I had my first board meeting since the Forbes story was published, took place in the boardroom. Full as I walked in, with the majority of our investors being older guys who had first questioned me. I sat up more straight when I entered. It's funny how a few $1 billion can make a big difference. Stance of individuals. Before we start, I remarked, taking my take a seat at the head of the table. And let's talk about the room's biggest problem. Yes, the timing of the Forbes story was purposeful. But no, this doesn't alter our business practices, Marcus. Our CFO brought up the growth charts for the quarterly data resembled steep mountain ranges. Outstanding and indisputable, as you can see, I went on. Our choice. It has paid off to work covertly while developing our technological foundation. We are not merely ahead of the competition. A man who was one of our first investors once said, "We are the market." He cleared his throat to bring in a more seasoned CEO. The figures are impressive, but the media alters the situation. Your family and my family have no bearing on this. Operations of the business, I brought up another slide. What is pertinent is what we should do next. Project Nexus. As I described our new AI architecture, the audience became quiet. Technological. Advancements that would make our present achievements seem like a warm-up. Maya sent me a note during my presentation that read, "Your sister's in the lobby. She won't leave until you speak with her." I continued my presentation, but sent a brief 5 minutes after sending a message to security. Emma was led to our smallest conference room. After the board meeting, I went to the room with the awful chairs. She spent 2 hours going over contracts before going down to meet her. Her flawless blowout. She seemed a little wilted, holding her Prada bag like a shield. "Really, Allie?" she exploded as "You couldn't let security know who I am since they know that I'm your own sister." I sat down since I knew exactly who you were. So they followed protocol. She deflated. Mom is crying a little because they feel deceived by the fact that Dad hasn't left for work. I raised an eyebrow, feeling betrayed by my success, my freedom, or the reality that they can't claim credit for it. We're relatives, so we ought to have participated in all of those family dinners as if you had included me in your life. When James and you discussed your accomplishments at those charity galas where your mother presented you as my successful Alexandra, my daughter, and I are discovering Emma winced, that's unfair. We didn't know because you didn't ask. Were too preoccupied with their sense of superiority to notice what I was creating, and now she indicated that now that we know, James would want to start anew. Cooperate. Well, James, I took out my tablet and opened his 3-year pitch history. 2 SEC warnings for dubious trading methods, 2 failed companies, and a James's face revealed how his trust fund is running out more quickly than his justifications. Did I know everything there was to know about everyone attempting to do business with my company? Included the fact that for the past 2 years, he has been disparaging me to possible investors. I think he called. He refused to let Emma's luxury handbag fall from her fingers. The recordings are, it's obvious that I got up. Please pardon me. I have a business to run. She took hold of my arm and said, "What do you want? Apology, okay? We're all sorry." I glanced at her immaculately manicured hand on my blazer, but please don't push us away. She made fun of the same blazer last night. I don't need anything from you. Emma, that's why I created everything without you or our parents. Without anybody's consent or encouragement, and that's precisely how I'll proceed. But what about my family? I grinned. Unfortunately, even without the billions, my family would still have had faith in me. Family would have seen me for who I'm rather than what they wanted me to be if they had inquired about my dreams rather than brushing them off. Her fingers slipped away, and now I opened my phone since there was another notice. I'm currently meeting with the governor to discuss making our city the next significant tech center. Tell your parents, and I'm sure they'll be extremely curious about my predicament as I left Emma in that tiny Maya stumbled next to me in the meeting room. Your parents are clutching. Your aunts have another family meeting tonight, she remarked, looking at her tablet. I grinned and said, I've already called 3 newspapers to say she mentored you. When they meet, let them converse. Silence is the best retaliation, but success is the best reaction. Sarah Chin is waiting as the lift doors open, holding an assemblage of global investors prepared to transform the planet, she inquired. Knowing that my cheap blazer would be highlighted in tomorrow's business pages as tech's new power look always, I answered. Behind me, the folks that everyone else ignored make the best inventions. Could hear Emma's pricey heels clicking as they made their way out, the sound reverberating like all of their years of criticism and rejection. But I was no longer that neglected younger sister. Instead, I was the future, like success, belongs to those who created it, oneself. A month after everything was altered by the Forbes piece, I sat in my office looking over the most recent market data. Neurotech's stock doubled. Our industry leaders referred to AI technology as revolutionary, and my Maya showed up in my doorway, bringing with it the continual gaze of the public which had replaced the carefully preserved privacy. I didn't look up from my screen to see your father downstairs. The same response as he is different today than he was yesterday. He is not wearing a Mercedes or a power suit. Richard Bennett, CEO of Bennett Global Consulting, was wearing pants. That caused me to pause. Jeans in public. He had spent 2 hours waiting in the lobby, Maya noted. I opened the lobby security stream while I was sitting there observing people at work. He was my father, dressed casually, holding a tattered leather object, and strangely appearing smaller. I had never seen a briefcase before, so I sent him up while I waited. Examined the assortment of framed newspaper headlines on my wall. Neurotech declares a quantum AI breakthrough, but the company's newest billion-dollar CEO declines Alexander Bennett's family's attempts to claim credit, don't need authorization. The final one came from an interview in which I finally discussed the family predicament in public. When a reporter questioned me about why I didn't tell my family about my accomplishment, I said, permission, validation, and family approval are not necessary for viral success. It just requires perseverance and vision. Dad came in subtly, so in contrast to his typical powerful demeanor, he slowly inspected my workspace, the whiteboards covered in intricate algorithms, and the worldwide he believed he knew the city's market tickers and how your mother consistently prepares meals for you. Finally, I pointed to the chair across from me and said, every Thursday night just in case. He took the old briefcase from my desk and placed it in his lap. I've been thinking. Of all he could, he went on to discuss your fifth-grade science fair. Have stated that you constructed a crude neural network, which was not what I anticipated. Used it to forecast weather, patterns. Everyone else had plants or baking soda volcanoes growing in the direction of you had algorithms, and he gave me a small smile. You took first place, but I missed it. I recall that there was a board meeting, but I don't recall ever asking you to describe how it operated, the reasons behind your interest in AI, or what you dreamed of constructing. He took out a stack of papers from the bag, so I conducted some investigation. He spread patents, research papers, early business plans, and my job dating are all on my desk. He stated, "You created your first AI protocol at the age of 19 and filed your first patent. At 22, previously founded 3 profitable firms under various identities. Neuroc." He drifted off. Finding myself, while we believed you were only being challenging, he raised his head to meet my gaze. We were mistaken. I was incorrect. The years of lost opportunities caused the silence to linger between us. Did you know that he finally mentioned that your mother has begun taking rudimentary coding lessons, but she claims she wants to know what you created? James has been attempting to pitch to my audience, while M has been reading about AI ethics. Competitors I disrupted, using his relationship with me as pressure to damage Dad's reputation. I had no idea that there was so much you didn't know, didn't ask, and didn't want. To observe that he slowly nodded. Your mother wants to have a family meal to commemorate your accomplishments, such as the last family meal where you all came together to help me situation? No. He took out another piece of paper from his suitcase, which looked like this. Was an old picture of myself standing triumphantly next to my fifth-grade science fair neural networks show a little bit of seriousness and are completely sure of my course when he whispered, "Did we cease seeing you? When did we replace pride with judgment?" I looked at the picture and recalled the thrill of creation that day. I mentioned the delight of creating something new and the disappointment of my parents' absence from the event. 76% of weather patterns were accurately predicted by the study, which is quite remarkable for, in order to find out Neuroc's current accuracy rate, a fifth grader checked it up, despite his own interest. What is it? 99. 997%. I rotated my screen to show him the results of our most recent test. We now model climate change, market patterns, and population movements, in addition to forecasting the weather. Assisting governments in anticipating and preparing for natural disasters, assisting companies in adjusting to changes before they, popular saving lives dead. I seen genuine comprehension emerge in his eyes of what I'd truly built, not merely of the wealth or success. "Show," he replied softly. "Help me understand." I paused, and then I got up and proceeded to the biggest whiteboard, saying, "It begins with a fundamental neuronal circuit I started sketching, but we later added quantum processing, which I described over the following hour. My life's work to my father," and he asked insightful questions that demonstrated what he had accomplished. Genuine research. He was quiet for a while after I finished. When I made another confession, he eventually admitted that Bennett Global was having difficulties. Businesses desire AI integration because the outdated consultancy approach is no longer effective. Prediction analytics. I am aware that previous quarter, your stock fell 40%. He laughed abruptly. Of course you knew, and you most likely did before I did. Seated upright on his chair, I'm not here to solicit assistance, funds, or contacts. I'm here to express my pride in you, not because of your accomplishments, but because I went to the window because you had the guts to construct something revolutionary, while we were all too blind to notice it. Observing the city, where I had secretly established my kingdom, I thought slowly, what if we held it at our next family dinner? I'll show them around my building first, showing them what I really... They would like that. he added. Do no more assumptions, no more judgments, just reality. Then, cautiously, I turned back to face him with that one condition. James isn't welcome. Everyone arrives on their own merits. He nodded. I understood that Emma was figuring it out nevertheless. The cost of his most recent investment planned them severely, as I am aware that I purchased their debt last week using a subsidiary. You did what? His eyebrows shot up. Emma needs to tidy up her own mess because she is still my sister, but I won't let her. I sat down again after she drowned. Family is complicated, and success doesn't make it any easier. Just provides you with the ability to establish more appropriate boundaries. Dad gathered his briefcase Thursday at 7. Tell Mum to put on comfy shoes because it's... He hesitated at the door of a large building, that newspaper quote about success. Not. I'm framing it for my office with permission to remind me of what true leadership is. It appears like Maya delivered my afternoon schedule and a fresh cup of coffee after he went. She stated, Your mother has already called 3 times regarding Thursday, and Emma sent flowers. Give the flowers, to which I replied, Maya, please free up my Thursday night schedule. It's time to demonstrate to my family what I truly created. That evening, I worked late as usual and added another framed piece on my wall. A tech CEO redefines success in family businesses is the best teacher. I put an old picture of the little girl from the science fair underneath it, with lofty aspirations, who went on to become the lady who revolutionized the tech industry. Teaching others to see is the hardest part of success, not creating an empire. You are not who they thought you would be. And as I glanced out, I grinned Thursday as I looked over my city and saw the lights twinkling in the buildings where my technology was already in use. Be intriguing, but I wouldn't be demonstrating anything. This time, because I already completed that, it was now their job to